Hello, hello, hello. Who's ready? Who's ready? Who's ready? Who's ready for some very wonderful session? Screenwriting. If you love screenwriting, I'm sure that's why you're here because you love screenwriting because you want to do this, big time, right? So share this link, talk to people, get people viewing, connect. Let's connect. Let's write, guys. Let's write. Let's write. Let's write. Are we ready to go? Are we ready to go, guys? Are we ready to go? Are live. I so we start in like by like 10:15, no, by like 8:15. I think 8:15 is a good time to start. Okay, so 15 minutes. We have someone who has joined, and I will just begin the process, which is first the major reason for having this particular stream going on is first to teach and not to teach per se, to just share my own little knowledge, share my own little knowledge about you know um, screenwriting, and to just tell people, help people to be better writers, and also to see how an actual writing process goes, like an actual writing process. So what happens when you have that buzzing idea, and then after, when you look at that idea, you're like, oh, the moment I get this idea, I just want to plunge, I just want to get in and start writing. Sometimes it's not very advisable that when you get an idea, just start writing. Sometimes you just have to note it down, and you just write a few scenes down, write a few lines down, and that in itself could metamorphosize into something way bigger. So if you're joining the stream, please type in the chat, say hello, share it, make sure that everybody that you know who are screenwriters, or who want to be better at screenwriting, um, can also join. Please type in the chat if you're here. Just type in the chat and say hi. My name is so 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 from so so place. Yeah. So um, this stream is going to be first likely be on Wednesdays, like this, 8 p.m. Wednesdays. What I will be doing will most likely be creating stories and working with those stories in different genres, and finishing that story, or at least trying to finish that story within the time frame and the period that we are going to be streaming for. So it's a lot of, you know, it's packed. And because we are screenwriters, I mean, collaboration is the next best thing. So um, again, click that share button, like, comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel, guys. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's up here, Delta Writer. Um, just to introduce myself, I'm a screenwriter. My name is Oluwadam Salah. I'm a screenwriter who has multiple projects in different stages of production, and I would like to teach you a few things that I know. I don't know a lot. I'm not a guru, but at least I have some responses from people that have written to and written for, that they're like, "Woo, I like this. This is very nice." I will show you one. Um, Story I wrote for a friend, and this story is I wrote it since 2022, but I just decided, okay, I need to rework the story, and some of the things I will teach you today too. You will understand why I take my time to let my story sit. So I usually take a whole lot of time to let my story sit. I I do what they call incubation. I incubate my story. So whenever I write a story, I set it down for like a month, 2 months, sometimes 3 months, to see if the story will come back to me. If the story comes back to me, then I know that that's the story I need to push for sure. If it doesn't come back to me, then I just let it go. You can't hoard all the idea in the world. So, this is something that someone said to one of the stories I wrote. I mean, it's you can see it there. I mean, you cook, bro. I love it, my chief. Excellent cut banter. actually shoot. Do you get? Good story always want people to actually shoot. So that's why the story has to be good. Do we get? Story has to be good. So without further ado, we will get right into it. We have a lot to discuss today, but what I want to make sure we write a script. I want to make sure that we finish a script. I want to make sure that we finish a script. So I'm sure you didn't see the previous uh this thing I showed, which is this. Okay, so yeah, this is it. I showed this and said, sorry. He says, sorry, I've been busy. I wasn't concentrating when I read it on Sunday, so I just read it in earnest today. And look at the comments. I mean, look at that comment. You cook, bro. I love it, my chief. Excellent code banter. Let's make film. And like I was saying, if the story is good, it will make people want to actually shoot. So the story's got to be good. If the story is good, people will want to shoot. So let's go. Let's go to the thick of the matter for today, which is show you. So the my goal is to write a short film within this time period using writer duet and also ensuring that we get the use and how writer duet work when I write. How do I write? When I'm writing, what are the things that I really, just put in practice when I am writing? And then after that, we'll go there, right? So I come up with story ideas, and I want to going to be treated. Then I'm going to now start to use those things that uh, are the methods that I use to come up with ideas. I'm going to now use them in a story. We're going to actually have a story that we are going to write together. So I'm going to actually use those concepts in a story idea that is um, we're going to write. So we're going to focus on developing compelling premise, crafting a very nice logline, and identify core themes and characters. And then, you know, the way I like to teach is I like to teach using the system. So it's not like I'm just teaching you off beat or off point or off flow. I'm teaching you based on what is saying. So we are going to be using the actual tool and we are going to be going for it, right? So you will see how writer duet works and learn how to use notes and index card for developing. In phase two, we will go into our story, right? Go into our story and use different story structure to write our story. We will learn the importance of structure, very important structure. Um, while I was learning to write, I would just take the script, just write. I wouldn't actually put it in a structure. That's not very nice. Stories must have structures, which is why our story has to have structure, and we will do that too. So we have to use the outliner feature. We'll learn how to use the outliner feature where we outline our stories and set them up. And then we'll use different visual storytelling to craft, you know, compelling narratives. You can see that is a lot. So, I mean, the I was just using that to get to the 8:25 time mark. So, what is writer duet? Let's go to writer duet. So this is writer duet, right? And yeah. So let's assume you are not logged on to Writer Duet and you want to get into Writer Duet afresh. So you just write Writer Duet on your system. So when you write Writer Duet or work with multiple devices. So if you're using your laptop, Writer Duet is perfect. If you're using your phone, Writer Duet is perfect. If you're using your iPad, Writer Duet is perfect, right? So Writer Duet is without breaking a single sweat. So go into the login, and then because I have an account, it will log in automatically. So, but if you don't have an account, you just you create your account free. Although Writer Duet has a paid system, a paid version, but it's free, generally free. So this is something I want to point out about Writer Duet. Uh, if you can see my cursor, you see my cursor is at the down left. You see there's a save and there's a green check mark in the save. You can also see it in the project section up here. There's a green check mark. Now, when you are connected to the internet, Writer Duet automatically saves your project online. Important thing. If you are not online, however, you can write. You can still write on Writer Duet even if you are not online. Only that this green marks will be red. These green marks will be red. They won't be. They won't be. Um, they won't be. So, if the green mark is red and you have written a lot, when you now eventually connect to the internet, you can actually still save locally. That is, this green check mark you are saying is saving on the cloud, meaning that you can now go to your MacBook or to your mobile device, to your iPad, and continue working to use it. Right. So that is that about that. So here that I am on is called the title page. We all know about the title page, don't we? The title page where um, we write information about our script. It's already formatted: address, phone, email, and sometimes you add your copyright. Um, if you'd like to do that, you write your copyright, and then the title of the story when we get into the main story. Written by my humble self, and then you put your address, or you can drill down and say Yanokpaja, Lagos. I'm sure learning to use this side of the tool is not why you're here. Why you're here is so that we can write. We can write together. So I have a list of ideas, right? And I'm going to use that idea to now teach about Writer Duet. So this is my list of ideas. These ideas are generated by AI because obviously I'm going to use them to teach and to learn about, or to teach and to learn about screenwriting. So I have different genres, which are the genres we are going to see um, in this screenwriting um, live sessions. So yeah, as you can see, we have drama, fiction or fantasy, and um, sparingly comedy, sparingly action, never write science fiction, sparingly history. So you can tell that this is also new grounds for me. But I'm going to use story structure to do exactly the same thing. So our short film idea that we're working on for this session is a Lagos bus driver discovers his estranged son. I'm going to copy this, and this is where ignore this for now. Okay, so I'll come all the way here. When I get here, I'm going to click on outline and shift it all the way right. So this is our outline, right? Okay, yeah. So we have the outline. A Lagos bus driver discovers his estranged son is a cultist terrorizing the same route he plies every day. These are all outlines. So what I want to do first is to come up with a what if, and this was taught. This I learned this at E.D. Sami. I mean, very intelligent man. You should go to Elka and check him out. What if? So what if? The what if is most of the time used to um after you've introduced yourself, you ask this question, and the question is generally directed to the producer. You find out that your estranged son is a cultist, right? So this is just a question that makes the whoever it is that is planning to read your script, this is a question that makes them say, hmm, what if my son was a cultist? What would I do? Story idea. Now the story idea is this. This is like a kind of like the idea, but we have a what if. But now we want to develop an actual story idea. So the story idea is usually character great ED Sami. So the character wants what we can do with this um wants to, you know, now this is usually some you may have had an idea in your head. These ideas. Now a little idea, we have to include a contrasting element. A contrasting element being that now an example of that is um um a, or a very short person that happens to love basketball. Now, this person already sets the stage for what's going to be. But just imagine uh someone that can't see. Something like that, where you know that there is a sort of contrast between the character and what the character wants, right? So this person is a bus driver and is expected to, you know, have gotten people in the space of, in the field of Lagos as a bus driver. So this person is naturally expected to be, you know, sharp-witted and understand all of these things, right? So say, this story is going to be nice. So that contrast can happen in such a way that I can say, the bus driver. Now think about it. A bus driver, right? So a so we start the story idea with a religious bus driver wants to connect with his estranged son. But so a religious bus driver, let me highlight that. This is what they want, but the but want to say cultist. It has to be meaning want to say cultist. It has to be meaning that the son has a pride, meaning that the son has a pride to keep. The pride of to keep. The pride of I am a cult leader. I am a cult leader. So, but so by virtue of the fact that I am a cult leader, I'm not going to just give up my I'm not going to just give up my right. I'm not going to just suddenly give up my cult leadership position because of a father that says because of a father that says he's a pastor. He's a pastor. The father abandoned the child. The father abandoned the child. And keep that aside. So we have done keep that aside. So we have done an idea on is a cult. An idea on is a cult. So now there is so now there is child, my son is child, my son, whom I have very idea is simple, straightforward. Whom I have very idea is simple, straightforward. It's a simple story. We'll go ahead and say, okay, so what okay, so what we want to do now is to apply what we want to do now is to apply the is to apply so for me, like I said, this is my writing process. This is my writing process. I tend to use the I tend to use the I don't know what to what pour everything down about the story that I can remember. Listening to people talk that I can remember. Listening to people talk about, you know, their stories, about, you know, their stories and how they come up with it. And how they come up with it. And that's the very important thing. That's the very important thing. Um a lot of people used to say, oh, if I tell you my idea, you will steal it. Please. How many ideas they want steal? Please. How many ideas they want steal? Do you get like how many ideas if you move on to the oh it is $1 million idea move on to the oh it is $1 million idea my dear idea is the best move on to the oh it is $1 million idea my dear idea is the best there's no my dear idea is the best there's no story that's never an example story that's never an example was by was by um James Cameron. um a set of people go to a foreign place of people go to a foreign place to want to explore and take place, but they really want that the locals one of the strange people falls in love with the local. Please tell me, is Avatar not that? Please tell me, is Avatar not that? We can create all these we can create all these CGIs and all the everything around, but it all boils down to one thing. The same way this story idea the same way this story idea boils down to one thing: a religious bus driver who wants to reconnect with his estranged son. That go to the ends. I have people that you maybe the only time that I don't talk about would go. Maybe the only time that I don't talk about would go. But for stories that just come to me and say, "Oh, let me see," and I scribble things down and in that case, what I do is general research like that in forums, in chats, a reaction, just to get a reaction, just to get a doesn't really make sense. It doesn't really make sense. So the- it's best for short films. I will show you. Okay, so no. This is the one I okay, so no. This is my favorite one. This is one I like to use the most. Save the cat. Pyramid is a very, very wonderful. So take note. So if you look at this pyramid, the best form of the use of the pyramid is this one I'm on, not these ones that have the exposition and the denouement in the same level, but in this level. So Exposition is the first part of your Freytag's pyramid. Exposition, exposition, exposition. So the first exposition. So the first thing that happens is we want to know what's up. We want to see the world where our character is. So exposition, which is our character's world, right? Usually like to put dashes world. That's how I like changes our character's world. Character's world, but it changes how your characters. Okay, yeah, Harry Potter. We are first introduced to a world filled with magic, a world where strange things are happening, right? But that's not seen directly, and that's not experienced directly by Harry, right? In Harry Potter, that's not directly experienced by him. What changes that narrative for Harry Potter is that letter that came from Hogwarts, right? So when that letter came, his worldview changed. The way he saw the world changed. So that's the inciting incident. The inciting incident changes the worldview of your character. So blending to that new order is called the rising action. So your character's response to the change. So the rising action is your character's response to the change. So when the character is going through, and then immediately after that, we are met with something that changes the way they see the world. Food is sure, there is breast milk all the time. All I just have to do is cry, and then mommy comes with, you know, big stuff that has a nozzle in it, and then chugs it in my mouth, and then I suck. Salty, sweet stuff comes out. Don't ask me how I know the taste. All of us suck breast. And then after I'm filled up, I'm okay. And then suddenly finding out that not all people that smile to you and do wave to you are nice. My parents suddenly start telling me, don't talk to strangers, don't don't go to anybody's house. So navigating that period of the life of that child, that teenage period of that child, navigating that is the rising action. The inciting incident was when that child discovered that, I'm not a teenager. Now I cannot do this, I cannot do that. More accurately, for say a lady, the inciting incident could be the day she got her first period. Maybe she has never learnt about it. She has never heard about something called period. And all of a sudden one day she feels a pain in her stomach and boom, blood down her personality. And she's like, what to get conscious? So after that, we now have what we call the climax, not the one you do with your babe under you. That's for you guys. We now have the climax, right? So the climax is, at that point where the character's response to those changes. So this is how I define it. It may not be how everybody will define it, right? Climax. For me, it is the effect of your character's response to the change. The effect of your character's response. So, what the way your character responded to the inciting incident, what did it cause? What did it cause? So, whatever that thing caused becomes the effect of the inciting incident. So, um, Harry Potter, inciting incident, Agris came, took him to, you know, the school. He got those, the going to the school, getting the wand, choosing the house, the the cap choosing the house for him, and a lot of those things, they are all rising actions. Do you get? They are all rising action. His response to that change in his environment was reluctance. His response was, why is this thing happening? What's going on? I don't want this. I don't want that. I Do you get his response to all of those things? His response to that inciting incident was, I'm not cut out for this thing that you guys are doing, right? I'm not cut out for it. Only for that particular thing that is going to put them in the game. Only for that thing to pick him. That is the effect of his response. That was the we can call it the pseudo climax, because that it was at that point that we now discovered, whoa, now we've got it. Now we have a game on our hands, right? So what happens immediately after that? Things seem to calm down. Although in our head we're already like, hey, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? So what happens after that is the falling action. So the falling action is now the character's actions after climax. Do you get? So usually it is usually the opposite of the rising action. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, your character your character may have started as really wanted cupcake, right? He really wanted cupcakes. And so they now get to the cupcake factory and discover that they are using um human human remains in the cupcake. So they get stocked up and like, me? Nah, never gonna do that. So that's what happens. He he finds out, does all the wahala to want to find out at least. Oh yeah, give me. I need the cupcake. So he gets to that point and then he finds out that they use human beings for cupcake, inciting incident. Then what he does after finding out that they use human beings for cupcake, he now goes, oh, I'll report to this, I'll report to that, I'll go to this place, I'll go to that place, I will do everything in my power to report these people. That's what he does as a rising action based on the inciting incidents of finding out that they use human beings in cupcakes. Now, don't forget, what did this guy want? He wanted cupcake. Now he found out that they use human beings to make cupcake. He doesn't like it. The rising action, he begins to pedal, push, and say, who wetin dey sup? Who is this person that is using these human beings for cupcake, and then goes about wanting to. So it gets to a point where probably gets to a point where they tell him, if you don't drop this thing, your parents are going to be used for as cupcake. And then it gets to that point in his life where, damn, he has to decide, should I take, or I save my parents, I don't talk about this thing, and that's the climax. Then the falling action is now what happens after the climax. So your character's actions after the climax. So that's what the falling action is. Character's actions after climax. What now happens? So what usually happens is, at the climax, the conflict is the highest. It is a point of question. It's a point of would I go back? Would I remain? At the climax, it's always a point of Would I go back or would I remain? Would I go back or would I remain? That's what the climax is about. So the climax being the fact that this person has to make a decision, which is the effect of your character's response to the change in the world leads your character to a climax. The climax, the climax poses a question. Let me add that. The climax poses a question. So your character's action after the climax answers the question. So the following action is usually the fact that your character's actions after the climax will answer that question. So at the climax, your character is posing a question. At the following action, your character is saying, okay, I have answered this question. So what happens after? And then you now have your resolution. What happens at the resolution is that all of them come together. So we have the effect of your character's answer. So in the resolution, we have the effect of character's answer. That's how I tend to you know to use it. I tend to use it in a way of posing a question. After the question has now been answered, what is now the effect of that character's answer? Do you get? And then we now have a last part, which is the denouement. Denouement is our character's new world. Our character's new world. So we have our character's new world where um, using the story idea that we already have, we have two major characters here, the bus driver. So let's say his world in the start is chaotic, you know, he's sad, he's a pastor, he has to juggle church, he has to juggle his congregation and all of that. And then, driving as he has his own personal issues. So that's his world. And then the inciting incident will be one day he gets you know, um, probably stopped, right? All of a sudden, they stopped this thing. They they want to rob him or they want to do something to him, and then praying, fighting for his life. The leader of the cult group comes and says, "Oh, be," and then the man looks at her and says, "You are my son." That's an inciting incident. The fact, the moment the son and the father meet, the, his worldview changes. So does his worldview of the son. So our character's worldview changes. It changes from a chaotic this into a chaotic, unsavable, unsalvageable world to no, 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 no. I have to save my child. It changes to I have to save my child, right? So the moment the situation changes to I have to save my child, the things he now begins to do to get his child to be saved is now the rising action. So that's your character's response to the changes. Your character's response to the changes in the world. So the climax can be a situation where the boy and the father are now meeting face to face, and the boy is confronting him and telling him that no, you can't come to my life at this stage of my life and be telling me what to do. You left me to the streets. I built myself up. Yeah, I mean, I have influence and power. And the man is also telling him that this thing you have is not influence, it's not power. If anything happens to you tomorrow, these people will drop you. And the boy reminding the father that, like, you left me, now you call yourself a pastor. You call yourself a pastor, you're supposed to be a shepherd. Didn't the Bible say, and you say, I don't dey put I don't they put dialogues. That you see, that's how dialogues come. Didn't the Bible say the shepherd, when the shepherd lost one sheep, he went and look for that one sheep so that he can bring that one sheep back home and all of that, leave the 99 looking for the one. The father could respond. The father could respond and say, that is the battle he has been fighting against himself since he met him. Since he eventually met him and knew that this was the world he was living in, he has been uneasy. He has always been out to look for him because he is that one sheep that he needs to bring back. And then the father can even continue that story and says, do you know how happy I will be? As happy as that man that lost one sheep, right? Went to look for that one sheep. When he came back, he took one from the sheep, from the 99 that was already down. He took one and went to kill so that they can eat and enjoy and be merry, right? So he can give him a contrast of a life that our lives will be better. We would have a lot more joy if we are together. You don't need to be. So that's the climax, right? So the falling action now begins to be that, the climax is your character has to ask a question. So the climax poses a question. Does the boy go or does the boy not go? At that point, we can say the boy says, no, I will never call you father. That's the climax. The boy says, I will never call you father. So what happens after is the man is beginning to lose. Do you get? So the falling action, the man is beginning to lose all hope. He's beginning to say, well, the boy has made his decision, right? The boy has decided on what he wants to do, talks to people, but his behavior has changed. His behavior has changed because now he gets to leave cultism or whatnot. And then on the other side, to have character dynamism, that boy on his own other side has also experienced a change in his world. So that boy begins to see that he now no longer has interest in the things of the cult anymore. He really misses fatherly love. Everybody looks up to him thinking that he's a strong guy, but his second in command just got stabbed a few days ago. So for him, he's also thinking about how can I leave this world? And that all came from the climax, right? So for the other boy, his falling action, if his falling action is now the things that now occur to him, the actions he now takes after that decision with his father. And then we can now go to the resolution where they say, okay, pops, let's meet. And then they meet. Or the man is in his church, talking about how you are never too damaged to come back to God. Talking about the prodigal son. Talking about how it is in the midst of our worries. It is in the midst of our downside, our casting down that God chooses to lift us up. And then the boy hears that and gets back to the father. Love story, right? Gets back to the father. Everybody's happy. Resolution. And then the denouement now happens when the man now goes back to his normal work, but this time he's happier. And then the boy is now to carry about. He has now converted them. He has now told them that, oh boy, nothing did. He feels okay. He has reconnected with his child. The child is no longer estranged, no longer a cult leader. The boy too is no longer need to pen it down. And that's why we'll start with this exposition. No, let me take it from within the system itself. Uh Mr. Adenego. I just give them names, my guys. Mr. Denego. Uh, he prays. He prays house. Then steps out of his house. In his prayer, he mentions how he wishes to. He mentions how he wishes to arrange child. Streets. So driver. So now we don't know he's a pastor. We just know, of course, we in his house we have decorated that you may not. So he's great. He's loved. Like people around the area love him. So it's not like a bad person. So we get to also understand that he's not a bad person. Do you get? He's respected, indicating respect. We go to what's it called? So this happens in, no, let's not include that yet. All right. So here, inciting incidents would be dangerous turn and gets ambushed by the leader, his estranged son. The pleasantries aren't kind, but for some reason he's let go. He's let go. His money, his money collected, but it still poses the question to his son, who waves him off. Now, that is his inciting incident. Now, for him, he does that, but the boy dismisses him, right? The boy dismisses. In action would be Mr. Denegon deliberately driving to the area of the cultists, right? He meets his son on one occasion. Don't know how to spell occasion. On one occasion, they exchange that, which makes the son, which makes the son accept that he knows, accept, but the conversation is interrupted by the event of a current current matter. Son deals with it ruthlessly. Father leaves untold. Right? So that's a rising action. Don't forget this is a short script, so we don't need to spend so much time on a lot of things. So what happens here is that time we leave me with my mama, no wala, no wala. So as they are getting to understand each other and to speak and to do all of that, right? And the man guys, guys jackpa, everybody would laugh, right? Father lives untold, everybody laughs. To create a dynamic character cross character cross how do I put it? What I mean by that is, and unfortunately I've not given him a name. Yeah, I give him Agbako, right? So they're also telling the son story, right? And so um that that this moment where the father leaves is a good enough moment to rest on these boys, because whether we like it or not, everybody laughs, and then um sorry, we can settle and talk about the we can settle and talk about the rising action for our guy in this case, right? So that gives a bit of context to the character of the son, and to help the audience also understand. Na just cultist, e just dey do bad things and the man won't save am. You have understood the man's perspective, now let's understand the boy's perspective. So um son talks a bit about his childhood, about his childhood. We see a section of a prison life, maybe not prison life, maybe a street is defending. So that is a wound. Obviously, we are not diving deep into characters in this story, but in character development, there's something called wound, character wound. When in the street, he had to fend for himself. He had to do all of these things for just himself, right? So this is also how you so we don't want to have to take so many things, but tiny things that can just help us tell the story better is better than just that makes us understand the character, makes us empathize towards the character. Because I believe that there's no character that is out. Jeffrey Stammer, what's that his name? Of Jeffrey Dahmer. He may have he may have that, but that's genuinely not how he was born. That's genuinely not him internally. I can promise you that. So nobody, the devil wasn't created. So we must always empathize. The same way everybody loves Joker. Everybody empathizes with Joker because we connect with him, and so that's why it's important. Well, we are not talking about characters today, but this is what we are doing. So the climax happens where against all odds decides to meet Son again. So this time an argument breaks out. Father is almost lynched. Father is almost lynched, but Son uses the situation to prove about how he just lost, to make sure that that comes out in the main script. So some references lost sheep story in Bible. Father son must and should kill him if that is what he wants. Now, in this situation, the father is saying, "Well, anything, you go kill me new. Whatever it is you want to do, you go. I mean, I'm okay. You do it." But it doesn't stop there. Son to do away with father, who gives father one last chance to save himself and leaves without son. Now happens to be what will the father now do after his um father um continues father continues driving, but deliberately bypass changed his behavior. Father hears about a so let's say hears about the cult group relocating, a clash, the cult group having a clash with another group, with death, in the but that will happen in the resolution. So we'll see how that plays out. Right? So with death recorded, father panics, looks for son in usual finding, then continues search until finally and dying. Father helps him to recover from injury in shooting. Yeah. Says son says no hospital takes. Son comes home. Son refuses. Right. So now we see that the boy is still saying, nah, still not gonna come. Still not gonna come. So at the church, father is preaching about prodigal son and now the Lord is the comfort. Father of the fatherless, etc. Son is present in con begins to cry on pulpit. They reunite, both apologize to each other. Emotional call. All right, and then the denouement. What do we now have? You have a brand new world. So, brand new world. Father and son live together to pray. Reluctantly, he does. Father tempts, but son says to not drive against us on the church as well as yay! Right. So now we have a title or a log line for it yet. I mean, now we have a solid story and an end. Focuses on you know. So in this story we get the in such a short story. Do you understand? So one last thing before we go. This is what I usually do. So and then step in, you know, ready and solid goal to an extent. So this is what I do. I put give and then I say take feedback on the following, on the above. So it's not like you will take all the feedback that ChatGPT gives you. I'm just saying that flesh to it. Do you understand? Like to know if the story has like a kind of like a strength. So AI says a religious bus driver discovering his son is a cult leader is compelling, topical and layered. Faith versus rebellion, fatherhood versus abandonment. You've mapped every stage of Faith's pyramid. The bones of the story are there. Themes, lost, important, universally powerful. What this says, what this body that watches it everywhere in the world. So there is nothing so specific to the Nigerian culture about it. And that's something I need. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't, I mean, there are a lot of Nollywood, Bollywood movies that are specific to the Indian and the American culture, a lot of British movies that are specific to the British culture. But you will notice that the core of the story is usually universal. It is never, the core of the story is usually universal. I will just stop there. I don't want Indian stories on our platforms. They don't come against me. So character potential, Mr. Dinego can be nuanced and exposition. Currently too clean. He established religious and respect in the community, but we don't yet see his flaws or the cracks in this world. So that's very understood. So at this point, I just focused on the fact that okay, this is who the character is. It's a religious person, and this character at this point they they have abandonment issue, right? They abandon their child. So it is in that conversation, it's in the dialogues that he will give his reason. So it says make the son's absence a wound. The characters have wounds. So I'm happy that it's son, but the son just waves him off. Feels weak because you're good when I slept on the street. It gives you some dialogues that you can add to make that part stronger. Rising action, the father keeps seeking him. Good Sorry. Instead, dramatize them with conflict-driven exchanges. Yeah, that is best done with dialogue. Don't worry. By the next streaming, we're going to be working on dialogue. Dialogues are the things we're going to be really working on because we says show tension. Father trying to save him, show the moral gulf. Yeah, use it to show the moral gulf. Someone is saying can't hear me. Why not? Hello. So we will climax doesn't force the father into an irreversible emotional question. Have the climax end with the father choosing faith over. I will put that into consideration. The search after the cult clash works. The son's refusal of hospital as individual vulnerability makes sense, but right now it leans cliche, dying in father's arms. Maybe twist the son rejects it, highlighting that reconciliation will come cheaply. Unless earlier foreshadowed. I actually have to have a scene where the son remembers the care that the father showed him, remembers the fact that nobody came, nobody has helped him, and then the father was actually turned good, but takes a first step. That keeps it up. Then the moment, nice reversal. Son drives, father focuses on church, but it risks being too neat. Consider living ambiguity. The son drives, but still wrestles with old habits. Certainly, he will still wrestle with old habits and a full wrap up. Yeah. Well, in Nigeria, and the last note by ChatGPT, emotional just have seen don't sanitize their food. It needs to back, avoid the cliche of court leader suddenly actually that's actually what happens. So all of this is just to say that AI also understands what you want and what you should do. So in any case, um right. So is that is it. Um thank you for joining. Um what will happen is in the next period, you are going to be in the I'm going to most definitely be doing the scripting, the actual scripting, making sure what um to note what has put down. We'll see next week, same time, same station. Follow, like, share, subscribe. Always important to follow session. If you like it, if you like it on YouTube, it will be on YouTube. So guys, get writing. What I want to really come up with the idea, uh, can actually come up with ideas from, um, AI. ChatGPT can help you with ideas. So again, very important that those questions keep coming up. Enjoy yourself.